can tell today's video is going to be very serious because I have a very serious collared shirt on. Hey internet. It's currently torrential downpouring outside, so I apologize if there's like an underlying rain noise in the background. They say that the only thing constant is change, and I was watching a vlog from Michael Aranda a couple weeks ago, and he was having a discussion with his brother about how life is just like constantly changing. I'll show you the clip.
I think as a kid you have this sort of false sense that the way things are, that's the way things will always be. But life is in this constant state of flux, always changing. People are always entering your life and leaving your life. And it's much easier to see that when you're older.
I've been wanting to talk about this concept of change being a constant thing for a while now, but watching his vlog and seeing him discuss this with his brother really made me feel like it was time to make this video. For the first decade of my life, I was relatively sheltered from change. As I've mentioned before, I only lived in one house my entire childhood, and until I was about 10, my brothers were still at home. Like, everything was the same. My family structure hadn't changed. Everything was pretty normal. Then my two older brothers graduated from high school. One went off to the military, the other went off to college. Around the same time, my grandfather died, and then my father died. And the traditions that my family had had for a long time started to feel like they were falling apart. So that was my first instance of really kind of noticing that change occurred. And kind of at that point that things started changing, things just felt like they kept changing and kept changing. And since then, it's just felt like life has never been the way it was when I was growing up. And nothing made this easier to see than when I finally went off to college. Everything was spreading out in my life, and I was starting to realize that no matter what happened, like even coming back for the holidays or coming back for spring break or whatever, nothing was gonna make it the same again. And I remember having so much anxiety about that because I remember thinking, like, I really like the way that things were, and what if this new thing didn't work out? Like, what if I just absolutely hated it and I wanted to go back to the way it was before, but knowing that that couldn't happen, that was so incredibly terrifying to me. I think one of the weirdest moments of this was coming back from college during that first year and just getting this feeling like something was different. This is not the way it felt to be in the house when I was in high school. Like, I felt like I was living in between worlds. I felt like an outsider in my own home. And then when I graduated college and came back to the house, it still felt weird. I still felt like an outsider. Eventually I got into their schedule again and like made it my home, but it was never the same as it was before. And then I left again and moved out and had my own life for 2 years, but even then it felt like everything was still in a constant state of flux. I never knew what was going to be happening next. And now I am in this whole new life, and it feels so strange because I know that I need to develop a routine and that I need to get kind of a normal pace to my life, but I also know that this is not going to last forever. And it's just very unsettling. For the most part, I like to embrace change, but I think when it comes down to like the very core of your being, I think a lot of people enjoy having some sort of comfort and stability. And definitely in the place where I am right now, there just doesn't seem to be a whole lot of stability. Thinking ahead at the future and knowing that in a year's time or 2 years' time, life could be so much different than it is right now. Like, so ridiculously different that it's hard to even imagine. And that, it's just really, really difficult to feel like anywhere is home. It's very easy to dwell on the way that things were, but it honestly does absolutely no good. And it just makes you sad and unproductive and just puts you in an awful place. So the thing that I do now is to try to take in every new experience and enjoy it, and to ground myself in things that aren't places and routines, but in passions and people that I make relationships with, and, you know, find ways to anchor myself without tying myself down. Does that make any sense? I don't know. I guess the point of this video is that change is a constant in life, and it does absolutely no good to try to ignore it or turn away from it or push it away. Let it come, let it happen. Yes, life is never gonna be the way that it was before, but that's okay and that's good. You need to be able to learn from that. You need to be able to become better. It's just hard. Let yourself deal with it. So for today's video, what's your feeling on change? Do you feel like you embrace it? Do you feel like you resist it? I'm curious, does anyone else feel the same way as me, like feeling kind of ungrounded, and how do you anchor yourself? Thank you so much to all the new people who have just subscribed in the past couple weeks. Welcome to my place on the internet. I'm glad that you're here and I hope you enjoy your stay. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later. We're in DC today. We're gonna be traveling around to different places and answering some travel questions for you guys.